Okay, I think we're recording is started now. Let me share my screen so you can see. Yeah, it's wonderful that each of you are making time for this endeavor to go through the Srimad Bhagavatam as a diploma course step by step. Some of you like Prahladana Maharaj Prabhu is a very senior devotee, but still is relishing Krishna Katha by going through one more time. So that's inspiring to see. So today we'll be covering Srimad Bhagavatam third canto. We'll starting in Srimad Bhagavatam third canto. We'll go to the first four chapters. This is very, very wonderful, sweet chapters. Actually, one of the story portions of the third canto beginning before it goes to again the story portion later on again. So third canto, as you know, Srimad Bhagavatam is compared like a Krishna's personal form. So we're going through first canto, second canto, third canto, as if we're going from lotus feet all the way to the face of Krishna like that. So the context I wanted to cover briefly so that we can get into the chapters. The context is, if you remember the end of the second canto, Sukadeva Goswami was about to explain Padmakalpa. Padmakalpa means the first day of Brahma, where Lord Brahma was born on the lotus flower. That Kalpa is able to explain. At that time, Suta Goswami, in his conversation with Saunaka Muni and other rishis at Naimisharanya, so when they're discussing, Saunaka Rishi expresses interest. They want to know, what did Vidura and Maitreya discuss? Can you please tell us about their samvada? Like that they ask. That time, Suta Goswami, having heard entire Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami earlier, he refers to that conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, because they also discussed Vidura and Maitreya conversation or samvada. So he starts to refer to that. That's how the third canto starts. So now the basically third canto first chapter, the way it starts is because the objective is to go towards Vidura Maitreya samvada, right? So before we go to Vidura Maitreya samvada, the first four chapters are giving the background leading to Vidura Maitreya samvada. So that's how first four chapters talk about Vidura and Maitreya meeting and what did they talk about Krishna Katha, what did they discuss like that. Before it goes into Vidura meeting Maitreya and speaking for the rest of the third canto and fourth canto also. So now this is the simple overview of this chapter. As you notice, the content uh, to to put in a simple summary format, I borrowed from Bhagavata Subodhini by His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu and also from his Bhagavata Pravaha classes that Sureshwar Sham Prabhu shared other day to you. So that way it's easy to simply see on the screen instead of writing the whole verse like that. That is the intent. And obviously I'm inspired by Gauranga Darshan Prabhu and several devotees in ISKCON who are teaching Bhagavatam so wonderfully to relish Krishna Katha and to apply Krishna Bhakti, to apply ourselves in Bhakti sincerely and seriously also. So this is a quick overview of this chapter, wherein first five verses are talking about Parikshit Maharaj's inquisitiveness, his eagerness to hear Krishna Katha. And then next section talks about what are the circumstances that led Vidura to leave Hastinapur and go to pilgrimage. And then how did Vidura go through the pilgrimage after that, after leaving Hastinapur? That's the next section. And following that, Vidura meets Uddhava and he asks questions about welfare of Krishna, Balaram, and all the Yadus and Kurus like that. And then he also asks about Pandavas also. And then finally, Vidura places a request to hear about Krishna. So Krishna Katha. So that's where this chapter is leading towards, the first few. Then because we'll go through four chapters today, it'll be like an overview with some important lessons for us also. So I wish to leave some time for the questions and also comments and discussion. So please feel free to add your realizations, your understandings, and what inspired you in this section also. So I'll be eager to hear and learn from you. So now this is going to the first section. This is talking about Parikshit Maharaj's inquisitiveness. How did he express his eagerness to hear Krishna Katha? So Basically, Vidura renounced. First two verses are talking about Vidura renounced home and entered forest where he met Maitreya. So that means he's summarizing it. Parikshit Maharaj is not understanding. He's not telling the details why he left the home and all that yet. Then Parikshit Maharaj asked, when did Maitreya and Vidura meet? Where did this discussion take place? Like that. So in this conversation, the purport, one of the important lessons we learned here is when great devotees meet, they are interested in discussing Krishna Katha, not Prajalpa, not what is happening in the world like that. So they're really interested in discussing Krishna Katha, and they're nourished by Krishna Katha, and they're inspired and enlightened by hearing Krishna Katha. So that's what great devotees are doing. That's what we hear here. They're always, and then when we hear what great devotees are talking with each other, that is beneficial for all of us also. That's why all the great men are interested to hear what did the great devotees discuss like that. Because they're only discussing in relation to Krishna. So that is one important lesson from this section. And then when Parikshit Maharaj inquired like this about the circumstances, how Vidura and Maitreya met, not necessarily only the conversation, but he also asked about circumstances. Where did the discussion take place and when did it take place like that? That is why Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami starts to narrate the background before meeting Maitreya by Vidura. So he's first of all he's very very pleased by Parikshit Maharaj's questions. So and then he requests him, please hear attentively. This is one of the common theme we see whenever in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the common way speakers respond to any inquiries, because the inquiry is giving the opportunity for a speaker to remember Krishna, to speaker to remember Krishna Katha, to speaker to absorb in Krishna. So that's why they're very, very pleased with such questions. Number one. Number two, we hear even from first canto that because the subject matter is beneficial, not only for person speaking, but also person hearing, but also everyone around who's there also. And everybody else who might have questions, who are asking questions also like that. So that's why they're very pleased with this kind of inquisitive questions. So questions especially that are beneficial in diving deep into the Krishna Katha, not just questions about practical facts like what is that, how many numbers, like that. That's not the most important thing in Krishna Katha. Of course, some of us might have such inclination. That's okay. But the main essence is how do we develop our attraction towards Krishna? How do we develop our attraction and sincerity and faith towards Krishna and bhakti? So that we can practice sincerely and seriously. Now the next section describes about from 6 to 16 verses the different what are the circumstances under which Vidura had to leave Hastinapur, like that. In that section, first portion is how Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana gave so much difficulty to Pandavas. That is the section between 6 to 9. So in this, Sukadeva Goswami starts to describe to Parishad Maharaj, Dhritarashtra tried to kill fatherless nephews, that means Pandavas, in different ways we hear from Mahabharata, like poison cake, by putting them in a fire house that are built with lac so that they can easily ignite with fire. So like so many plots they made to cheat them and kill them even like that. And even when Draupadi was being about to be insulted, like in the picture we see, then Dhritarashtra, even though he had the capacity as a king to order, saying that no, this is not happening in my kingdom, but he did not make the choice, being given a respectable elderly position also. And then Sukadeva Goswami is describing this. And then he cheated Yudhishthira of his own kingdom that is rightfully there for him, like that. Then one of the lesson we can learn from here is when we are selfish, then that can make us shameless in pursuing our own enjoyment, my enjoyment, my enjoyment, my enjoyment. We don't consider, is it causing suffering to others? Is it causing pain to others? We don't consider, especially when I'm bent on sense gratification and my own enjoyment. And normally, Bhagavatam talks about repeatedly ahamameti consciousness. That means I in terms of my body, and then mameti means anything related to body is mine, like that. In that consciousness, my focus is on how to give more enjoyment to body and how to reduce suffering for the body. So then I'm not considering about what is happening to others in my life, in others, in the world also. That's the lesson we can learn from seeing Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana's example here. And then Kauravas and ninth verse, Sukadeva Goswami is describing, even Lord Krishna personally came like a Duta, like a messenger on behalf of Pandavas, out of his own wonderful relationship with Pandavas. Still, Kauravas could not hear these words. Why? The purport Prabhupada explains nicely. Because they don't have devotion for Krishna. When you have devotion for Krishna, the message of Krishna goes in like nectar. We relish the message of Krishna. But for non-devotees who don't have any faith in Krishna, who don't have any devotion for Krishna, they don't hear the same words like nectar. It's like bitter poison to them. So common example Prabhupada quotes in the purport. This we hear in Nectar of Instruction also. How sugar candy for a healthy person tastes sweet. Whereas if I have jaundice, I'm a diseased person with jaundice, then if it same sugar candy that's sweet, if I eat, it's bitter for me. Like Nectar of Instruction also, we see the verse like that in connection with holy name. Similar thing here in terms of message of Godhead, Prabhupada is writing a message. So, so this is a one way to evaluate. Are we able to listen to Krishna Katha nicely? Are we able to accept Krishna's instructions nicely? That's a one way to evaluate ourselves also. So now, going to the next section. Still in the same section, how Vidura left Hastinapura. So Vidura was pained to see how Kauravas are not taking the advice of Krishna, or pained to see how Pandavas are suffering under the supposedly care of Dhritarashtra. So Vidura started to give advice. Pandavas are angry, return their share of kingdom to them. Bhima is breathing like a snake. Like that, he starts to give advice. And interestingly, in this section, we'll see Vidura gave advice when Dhritarashtra consulted him. Not that, okay, I'm powerful, I'll go and give advice like that. So it is described, one of the verses describes, Dhritarashtra invited him for advice. But still could not listen to the advice. We'll see that. So basically he's saying that not only is giving not only in the transcendental perspective, how Krishna is Supreme Lord, you need to listen to him. Not only that perspective, from material perspective also he's telling him. Actually, Pandavas have great people on their side. Krishna is there on their side. Yadus are all there on the side. And all the kings are there on their side. So you'll become weak. You're not strong to fight with them also. Like that is explaining. And then interestingly, he says, get rid of your son Duryodhana and do good to your whole family. Why? Because he's envious of Krishna. You should not support somebody who's envious of Supreme Lord. So then it's not good for you and it's not good for anybody, like that he says. That is the advice Vidura gives. Then going to the next section here, next few verses of same section. Then Duryodhana could not take this advice of harsh words, seemingly harsh words from Vidura. Duryodhana says, who asked this Dasi Putra to come here like that? That's insulting words. Why is he referring to like that? Like that? We know from Mahabharata story that how Vidura was born of Vyasadeva and to a maid servant, because one of the queens did not want to go before Vyasadeva because of his not so attractive appearance. She was scared. So she sent the maid servant. That's how Vidura was born. So that's why he's calling him as Dasi Putra. Why did he come here like that? But actually so elevated in terms of consciousness, in terms of his acumen and being able to give ministerial advice to king like that. And he says, throw him leaving with only his breath, that like that he says. Then here what we can learn a lesson from here is that Duryodhana was so full of pride and stubborn nature and so much of false ego that such a person makes a fool out of himself. And even if somebody giving advice for my own benefit, if I have such pride and stubbornness and false ego, I cannot accept that advice, even though it's very good advice still. That's the lesson we can learn from this, seeing Duryodhana. And then interestingly, another beautiful lesson coming up in the next verse. Basically, Vidura, when he heard that insulting words, his heart pained, but he did not feel sorry. Interestingly, at the same time, feeling painful is natural when somebody insults us, but he did not feel sorry for the situation. How did he process it? Is wonderful. In Prabhupada writes in the purport, Vidura saw that Duryodhana was being influenced by external energy or Mahamaya of Krishna, whereas he saw that means Krishna's external energy is powerful. So we should accept whatever coming in our life like that. At the same time, he saw Krishna's internal energy or Yogamaya side is helping him to get out of this politically surcharged situation so that he can progress in his spiritual life, so that he can focus on pilgrimage, focus on absorption in Krishna Kada, focus on Krishna's chanting of Krishna's holy name. Like that, he took it as an opportunity. So this is an important lesson for us. Great people, great devotees, even if distress comes in their life, suffering comes in their life, they see them as opportunities and seek God's shelter more and more and purify themselves. Similarly, by seeing the example of great people, we as practicing devotees also can practice this. Meaning, we commonly hear the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 14th chapter, 8th verse, Tattenu Kamkupam Susamikshamanam. That was right. So basically, the essence of this principle is that because we are in material world, miseries will come in one form or the other. Even though I'm chanting 16 rounds, doesn't matter. Miseries might come. That is one thing we need to accept. Then, but we need to continue by tolerating miseries in our devotional service, no matter what circumstances externally happening. Like first canto, second chapter, we hear the word Savai Pumsa Paradharma Yado Bhakti Dadvakshaja Ahituki Apratigata E Atma Suprasidati. Ahituki Apratigata. That means Apratigata means uninterrupted. Ahituki means unmotivated. There is no personal motivation for devotional service. Uninterrupted. That means even if whatever circumstances happen, I continue in a devotional service. Even if I'm not able to speak, even if I'm not able to do physical service, even in lying in the bed, I can think about Krishna. I can chant holy name in the mind, even if I'm not able to speak for some reason. That means devotional service can go uninterrupted anytime. So when we understand that, and when we establish the focus in our life, devotional service is my goal, then we can see all the circumstances that are happening in our life. Is it helping my devotional service? Is it hurting my devotional service? Anukulasya or Pratikulasya? Remember 6 limbs of surrender. So is it Anukulasya? Is it favorable for my devotional service? Then devotee is happy, even though it's suffering externally. So that is how they'll see suffering also as mercy of Krishna. So that is what we are also trying to cultivate as practicing devotees by seeing the example of great souls like Vidura in this example here. So that's how Vidura left, taking this opportunity. So he doesn't have to deal with all the politics coming up, Kurukshetra war and all that he doesn't need to deal with. He happily engages in Krishna's service now, like that. So now the rest of this section describes how Vidura traveled through many holy places and he visited, took darshan of several deities, and he go through different cities, orchards. Orchards means like different flower gardens, villages. And one of the factors that's emphasized here is Vidura maintained ideal conduct as a mendicant till pilgrimages. That means what we are supposed to do when you go for pilgrimage, not try to, how can I enjoy, not like that. He conducted himself in an austere manner, absorbed in Krishna consciousness. That is one highlight in these purports that we can see through these verses. And then it's described, during his travels, he finally reached a Prabhasha Kshetra. And during this time, he didn't hear anything about what is happening here, what is happening there, no news. But when he finally reached Prabhasha Kshetra, that time he heard, oh, Kurukshetra war is over now. Pandavas won over Kauravas. Like that, he heard all the details at that time. Then is described, he visited some more holy places at the banks of Saraswati, and then he visited many temples of Vishnu. And then he finally goes to the bank of Yamuna river, where he met Uddhava. So it is described, if you notice, Vidura embraced him and inquired. So this is one interesting thing. In the first canto, Srila Prabhupada describes in one of the purports where how Krishna always maintains the social decorum and he maintains the etiquette. Like when he goes to Yudhishthira Maharaj, he pays obeisances. When he meets his equal like Arjuna, he embraces him. Like that he describes. So similarly, Vidura is elderly compared to Uddhava. That's why he embraced him. That's a etiquette we see here also. So finally, he met Uddhava at a bank of the Yamuna river. Then Udira asks several questions asking about welfare of Yadus, Kurus and Pandavas in this section, coming session. He starts with Krishna and Balram, how are they doing like that? And then he starts about different Yadus like you see here. Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Ugrasena, Samba, like that everyone he asks one by one, many people he asks in Krishna's family. And then he inquires about Kurus, especially Pandavas and Kunti also. And then he expresses that I lament for Dhritarashtra because all his sons are died now in Kurukshetra war. He is lamenting for Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra also. Here in purport, Prabhupada emphasizes the point about Vaishnava character. How Vaishnava, first of all, he doesn't have any enemies. We hear about Yudhishthira Maharaj, how he is Ajata Shatru. He doesn't have any enemies like that. That means from his side, he doesn't have enemies. Others may think he's the enemy, but he doesn't have enemical attitude towards anybody. So similarly, here we can see from Vidura, even though Dhritarashtra did not do anything when Duryodhana insulted him, he was not in revengeful attitude. He was not thinking he's enemy like that. He wants to do all good for him only. And later on, Prabhupada explains in the purport, later on Vidura comes back to deliver Dhritarashtra, which we have seen already in the first canto. So that's a character we need to develop also. Even if somebody hurts us, we need to wish their welfare. Of course, we may not be able to associate with them very closely if somebody is hurtful for us repeatedly. But still, we can maintain a distance, but wish well for them, pray for their benefit, so that their attitude can be recovered and they can grow closer to Krishna, like that. So now, in the next verses, he's not astonished by actions of Lord's Maya is described in this verse. Why is saying pure devotees know and are not bewildered by external actions that are happening, external activities that are happening. So many people are killed. Oh my God, why? Like that, they're not bewildered because they understand there's a purpose for everything in Krishna's creation. And Krishna is the cause of all causes. Ultimately, Krishna as a well-wisher is doing good for devotees and doing good for demons also. We hear that how demons are also liberated, or sometimes even Krishna gives a greater position like Putana in spiritual world also. Like that, that's why they're not bewildered. That's the point Prabhupada makes in this purport here. And then he describes this 45 verse describing that how Krishna personally refrained from killing Kurus, although he desired to kill wicked people and establish dharma and protect surrendered devotees also, like that. So the purport has a beautiful point, which is saying about purpose of going to pilgrimage. This is the last verse of the chapter where Prabhupada elaborates what should be our mood when we go for a pilgrimage, like when we go to Vrindavan, Mayapur, or Dwaraka, Jagannath Puri, like that. Main mood should be how we should chant the glories of Krishna. That can be done by chanting the holy name of Krishna, chanting the past tense of Krishna. In fact, usually we say Kirtanam is speaking either holy name or past tense. But even hearing is also Kirtanam also in this case, even though hearing is commonly called Shravanam. So basically, glorification of the Lord can be done by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, by speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, both ways. And then Prabhupada also discussed in the purport that how Lord's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, name, form, qualities, pastimes of the Lord are identical with the Supreme Lord, not different from the Supreme Lord. That's why, therefore, any chanting about any of those Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela invokes personal presence of the Lord. Whenever devotees are discussing Krishna Katha or chanting together holy name, then Krishna is personally present and that purifies us and that's pleasing to Krishna. Like that, Prabhupada emphasizes in this purport. This kind of instructions from Prabhupada should inspire us to engage in more and more Krishna Katha as much as we can. and more japa also. So now this is the overall summary. What we saw essentially in this chapter was Parikshit Maharaj was inquisitive to understand the circumstances for Vidura and Maitreya's meeting before they discussed. Then we saw the circumstances how Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana and how Vidura took it as mercy of Krishna and left for pilgrimage, and finally he happened to meet Uddhava, and then he started to inquire about Krishna and his family members. That's what we saw in this chapter. Now in the next chapter, we are going to see how does Uddhava respond to these questions from Vidura. So here we see the overview of the chapter. First few verses are describing Uddhava's exalted position, and then next verses are describing Uddhava starts to describe unfortunate position of situation of Yadus, because they could not recognize Krishna as supreme person of Godhead, Bhagavan feature, like that. And then Uddhava remembers beautiful form of Krishna, that's described in a few verses. And then Lord Krishna's mercy, how he is so merciful to everybody, including demons, and how his activities are bewildering, confusing for ordinary people, like that he says. And then he starts to describe pastimes of Krishna in Vraja, a little bit in a random fashion, and then he will go to sequential fashion later on. So that's a quick overview of the chapter, where is remembering, Uddhava is remembering Krishna. That is the chapter overall essence. So first few verses are describing how Uddhava was unable to speak when he remembered Krishna, because Krishna left the planet by that time, and he was a wonderful close associate of Krishna. Uddhava was a close associate of Krishna. In fact, he was so close, Acharyas describe, outside of Vrindavan, Uddhava is one of the best devotees of Krishna, like that. So that's why he's describing, he was in a feeling separation from Krishna. And then he's describing how Uddhava's character is being described by Sukadeva Goswami. He's saying in childhood, he was so absorbed in playing with Krishna's dolls that even if his mother calls him, can you please come and have breakfast now? No, he absorbed in Krishna. He even skipped breakfast, like that. So like that, Uddhava, even though he's become so old, his devotion did not slacken. In this purport, Prabhupada emphasizes one nice lesson for us. Prabhupada says, normally in material lives, somebody becomes old. They stop doing all work. They become retired, and they will be doing some playing, something like that, usually. Wasting time if they're not in devotion service. But in case of devotees, as they grow older, they're actually in the transcendental service, they don't have any satiation. They're increasing, they're wanting to do more and more service, more and more hearing Krishna Katha, like that. Their service attitude is increasing more and more. That is for devotees, like that Prabhupada is increasing. So this is a sign of increasing devotion. Even for us, as our devotion increases, our service attitude should increase more and more. So now fourth and fifth verses describe how Uddhava is exhibiting transcendental ecstatic symptoms, like how hair standing on the end, uh, tears coming from the eyes without stopping, like that. He went into, he's exhibiting ecstatic symptoms at that time in remembrance of Krishna. That shows his elevated nature, exalted position of Uddhava. And interestingly, he stayed like that for one full muhurta, 48 minutes. But Vidura, he remained patient, understanding the exalted position of Uddhava. This itself shows how Vidura was also here so elevated to understand the exalted nature of Uddhava. Normally, when we ask a question, we will not have so much tolerance and patience if somebody doesn't answer immediately. So here we can see Vidura's exalted nature also in waiting patiently and tolerantly, and then understanding Uddhava's exalted position also. And then finally, Uddhava comes back to his normal position to start to speak to Vidura. And then first verse he describes this Krishna, like how sun sets from this world. Krishna has set, Krishna had disappeared. What can I speak of our welfare, like that is remembering Krishna's. So this is a nice example. Basically, as we know, when sun disappears from our vision here in night time, sun is appearing in another continent, in another side of the globe already. That means sun is not gone. Sun is just disappeared from our vision, but is appearing somewhere else. And at the same time, when sun goes away, the darkness causes ignorance for us. That means we cannot see things unless we have artificial electricity like this. Similarly, when Krishna disappears, he's doing pastimes in another planet again. So that's why it's not like he's gone. He's not facing death like conditioned souls with material body. He has a transcendental body. He has a spiritual body. So when he disappears, he's doing pastimes in another planet, another universe, like that continuously. That is one. And when Krishna disappears, we are all surrounded by sufferings and miseries. Like how when darkness comes, we are not in light when sun sets, similar to that. That's the description here giving. Of course, we know this is describing the transcendental nature of Krishna. From Bhagavad Gita also we know, right? That Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yeva Vitti Tattvataha. Like somebody who knows the divine nature, transcendental nature of Krishna, they don't have any more birth. They go back to Krishna, like that we hear. So like that Uddhava starts to speak, and he's saying, now he talks about the unfortunate position of Yadus and others in their family, Krishna's family. Why is unfortunate position? Because he says Yadus understood only Krishna as his super soul level, Paramatma, not really as Bhagavan feature. What is the difference between that? Bhagavan feature is very merciful. Paramatma feature is neutral. I will give based on what you've done in the past, like based on what you desire and what you deserve, I'll sanction like that. Whereas Bhagavan, even though you don't deserve, even though we don't deserve, even though our intention may be bad like Putana, still he gives the mercy. That's the nature of Bhagavan. They could not recognize that nature. Uddhava is feeling sorry for them. And then he says, pure devotees are not affected by the words of those influenced by external energy. Even if somebody tries to say, oh, Krishna is like this, Krishna like that, of course, if it's blasphemy, devotees try to uh, take a serious action or defeat them or something they do. But they're not bewildered, thinking that, oh, really? Krishna is like that? They don't get into bewildering like that. And then he stays in succinct way that the Lord withdrew his form, like that he says. He doesn't go into the details of disappearance pastime. So he's described, Prabhupada describes in the section that devotees don't like to discuss the disappearance pastime of the Lord. That's why he starts with the appearance pastime, we'll soon see. And then he starts to glorify Krishna with this verse. How? He's a Bhushana Bhushanangam, like that. The verse goes, Yanmatya Leela Upayikam Swayoga Maya Balam Darshayata Grihitam Vishmapanam Swasya Cha Saubhagarde Param Padam Bhushana Bhushanangam. Basically, he's describing, glorifying Krishna, that he's the ornament of all ornaments. Normally, when we decorate ourselves with ornaments, especially ladies, they look more beautiful. But here, Krishna doesn't look more beautiful because of ornaments. The ornaments look more beautiful because Krishna is wearing them. That's how he's glorifying. That's the nature of Krishna. So then, in next verse, he describes how all the demigods, in the case of Rajasuya Yagna that Yudhishthira Maharaj was doing, uh, everybody concluded, even demigods concluded, that Krishna is the ultimate dexterous creation of Brahma. Of course, this is not a highest compliment, because there is saying like it's Krishna is the creation of Brahma, which is not really true, because Brahma gives the material bodies to conditioned living entities, whereas Krishna is coming on his own with his own spiritual body, like that. But the point is, everybody, including demigods, are glorifying Krishna as the greatest personality. That is the point being made here, and about attractive beauty of Krishna. So now here, another point he makes is, when the gopis and Krishna were there enjoying the Rasalila pastimes, when Lord disappeared from that scene, gopis became anguished that Krishna has disappeared. They were feeling separation from Krishna. So by being stunned with separation of Krishna, they couldn't finish even household duties also. This is all describing the attractiveness of Krishna, like that. And then he describes how Now in this section, it describes how Krishna performs bewildering activities. That means he's unborn, he's Aja, but then to protect his devotees, he comes also, he takes birth also. So that's contradictory like that. And then similarly, he's actually all powerful. He can do anything he wants. But then he left parents in Madura in fear of enemy Kamsa, like that he speaks. And then Krishna, actually after 11 years or so, when he comes back to Madura from Vrindavan, he he, he asked forgiveness from his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva. Please forgive me. I could not protect you from Kamsa, like that he asked. That's bewildering, like that. And then he keeps on going like that. Once smelling dust of Krishna's lotus feet, no one can forget it. So such a person, Lord Krishna, gave liberation to even inimical enemy person, Shishupal also. Here you see in this Rajasu Yagna, Shishupal insulted Krishna with so many times, 100 times is described. Then Krishna severed his head. Externally, it appears Krishna is taking revenge. Somebody insulted me, let me take care of me, take care of him. It appears like externally he is taking revenge. He is treating like enemy. But what happened? He is given a higher position, liberation. So that's what is being described here. So then the next verse he says, Krishna not only in the Kurukshetra war, all the warriors who were seeing Krishna and dying in the battlefield while seeing Krishna's face, obviously they will get superior destination. And so not only that, through his devotees, through Krishna, Arjuna's arrows, also Krishna purified the other warriors, he says. So these are all bewildering activities of Krishna and merciful activities of Krishna, like that. So then he concludes this section that Krishna is the master of all the threes, he says. Interestingly, the threes are here. He has three principal potencies, three pairs of opulences. We know the six opulences that are given right from Bhagavata introduction itself. Knowledge, wealth, like that, strength, like that, right? And then three Purushavasaras, Karnausa Vishnu, um, Garbhosa Vishnu, Kshirosa Vishnu, and then three Gunavataras, like he appears in the form of Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, Lord Shiva. And then three modes are coming from him, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. And the three worlds are here, upper planetary system, middle planetary system, lower planetary systems. He's the master of all these three kinds of threes, like that he describes. And then he says, it's painful to remember Lord submitting explanations before King Ugrasena. Remember when Krishna killed Kamsa, he didn't become the king. He made Ugrasena the king. And not only that, he standed before him with folded hand to submit reports to King Ugrasena. That is bewildering to me, he says, even though he's the supreme lord. Like that, Uddhava was remembering different pastimes. And then he says, he remembers this beautiful, merciful nature of Krishna towards Putana again here. Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jigamsayapaya yad api asadvi lebe gatim datri uchitam tatonyam kamva dayalum saranam rajema. So he's describing this pastime in the 10th canto that Krishna discounted external cruel action of Putana to kill Krishna. That means behavior he discounted. Then he also discounted her intention also, that she came to kill Krishna. Normally we say Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana. That means he sees intention. Even our external activity, we make a mistake. Krishna sees our intention is to please him, so he'll give you mercy. But in this case, even intention is not there. Uh, Behavior, external action is also not suitable. But still, Krishna is so merciful that he gave her a position of being a nurse in a spiritual world, assisting Yasoda in doing his activities like a mother towards Krishna, like that. So that's the merciful nature of Krishna. In fact, we hear that this is the verse that Sukadeva Goswami was attracted to while in the forest, and he came back to Vyasadeva to hear entire Srimad Bhagavatam, it seems. So that's how he's describing remembering the merciful nature of Krishna. And then he says, I consider demons to be more than devotees, because while fighting in enmity with Krishna, They are so much absorbed in Krishna. I'm not so absorbed in Krishna. Who is saying this? Uddhava, the pure devotee. So we should not take these verses literally, but we should understand is the humility of Uddhava and is appreciating the absorption of in Krishna by even demons also like that. So that's how he describes the after he describes the merciful nature of Krishna and bewildering activities of Krishna, he starts to describe pastimes of Krishna in a more systematic manner now, starting from Krishna's appearance, how he grew up like that in Raja in this chapter. So he says how Krishna was born to Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison house of Kamsa, and then Vasudeva brought Lord Krishna to Vrindavana in fear of Kamsa, like that. And of course, we hear beautiful, beautiful lessons in this in 10th canto, but we don't have so much time because we're covering a short way. Essentially, Krishna is reciprocating with Vasudeva's Vatsalya about to protect Krishna. Yashoda's Vatsalya about to protect Krishna. That's why, that's one of the reasons. Of course, we know many reasons when Krishna does something, right? So, and then he starts to describe how Krishna performed so many pastimes with his Gopa friends and with cows on the banks of Yamuna river in Vrindavan's forest, in Raja's forest, like by herding cows and by playing with his friends, like that. And sometimes he would cry and laugh. He would appear like a lion cub, like that. He's doing so many pastimes in Vrindavan, like that. And then he played on wonderful flute also, he remembers like that. So, continuing the theme, he says Kamsa sent so many demons to kill Krishna, but Krishna killed them all easily, like how a child while playing with the dolls, he very easily breaks the dolls. Like that, Krishna took care of them. It was not a difficult endeavor for him. It's not a very difficult task for him to do anything like that. So then, not only that, he remembers the pastime of Kaliya. How Krishna chastised Kaliya and he drove him away, like that. That also he remembers that pastime also. And then he is remembering the Govardhana pastime now. He's remembering how to worship the cows. Namo Brahmane Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagatitaya Krishna, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Krishna takes the opportunity to show by his personal example to worship cows, to worship Brahmanas, and also to teach a lesson to Indra, who was overcome with pride at that particular time. So for that, he stopped the Indra Puja for teaching lesson to Indra and also to show us example of worshipping cows. And then he saved all the Vrajavasis when Indra tried to take a revenge, tried to pour lots of torrential rain. He lifted Govardhanagiri and protected all the Vrajavasis. Of course, we know there are so many intricate lessons in this pastime. How Krishna spent wonderful time with his devotees, all sorts of devotees for 7 full days and nights. Especially in the daytime, he was with only Gopa friends in the forest. In the evening time, he was only at the home, is away from Gopa friends. Now Gopa friends to get to see him throughout the day and night now. Like that, he spent so much nice time with all of them, which we hear also. Like that, final verse he talks about is how Krishna performed wonderful Rasleela pastimes many nights, especially on Sharad Purnima night also. Like that, he describes in this section. Now, with that, Uddhava remembered Krishna in separation and started to describe randomly about different things about Krishna. And then he started sequentially describing about Krishna's past childhood pastimes in Vraja. That's what we saw in the current chapter now. Now he starts to go to the next after Vrindavan. Krishna goes to Madura and then go to Dwaraka, right? So he starts to describe the pastimes out of Vrindavana in the 3rd chapter of this canto now. So far we've seen in the 1st chapter how Parikshit Maharaj asked about Vidura Maitreya Samvada and the circumstances for that. And we saw how Vidura got insulted in the 1st chapter by Duryodhana. And Vidura went to pilgrimage and he got an opportunity to meet wonderful pure devotee Uddhava. And he inquired about Krishna and his family to Uddhava. That's what we saw in the 1st chapter. And the 2nd chapter, we saw Uddhava being a pure devotee. He went into trance and he recovered and he started to remember Krishna in separation. And he started to describe Krishna's pastime randomly initially, and then is to describe the pastimes of Krishna systematically in Vrindavan. That's what we saw in 2 chapters so far. The 3rd chapter, he started to describe about Krishna's education and marriage, and then killing of demons personally and through Kurukshetra war, indirectly through devotees, and Krishna's life in Dwaraka, and events leading to the annihilation of Yadus, or Maushala Leela, it's also called. So, going to the details now. Krishna Balaram, around 11 years of age, they left Vrindavan, they went to Madura, and then giving pleasure to everyone. They, without any difficulty, Krishna kills Kamsa with just one, shot, basically. That's what we see in the 10th canto. And he drags him on the floor to make sure everybody understands that Krishna Kamsa is really dead like that. So, of course, there are so many wonderful leelas in Madura, but he's basically summarizing it so that we get the taste of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that we can all aspire to go towards. So then he describes how, by the instruction of his father Vasudeva, Krishna, now being in the father's home as a Kshatriya, he needs the training of a Kshatriya, not just training as a Vaishya that he got in Vrindavan. So he's sent to Sandipani Muni's ashram, and where by hearing just once, Shrutidhara is usually the term used, by hearing just once, he mastered all the 64 arts in 64 days, it is described. And not only that, he proved his supremacy as Supreme Lord by bringing back the dead sons of his spiritual master. And spiritual master recognized that. That's why he asked such a thing like, bring back my dead son, like that. He recognized that he is the Supreme Lord. But still, he became an instrument in Krishna's pastimes to act like he's teaching him nicely, like that. So then, of course, the next is he describes how Krishna kidnapped Princess Rukmini. We all know Rukmini father was named Bhishmaka. By the way, this is one of the multiple choice question. That's why I'm mentioning it. Bhishmaka is the name of the Rukmini's father. So Krishna showed his valor in kidnapping Rukmini on the request of Rukmini. One of the love letter Rukmini wrote, beautiful love letter described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that she invites Krishna. And this section is wonderful because Rukmini developed attraction to Krishna just by hearing Krishna Katha. By hearing from Narada about characteristics of Krishna, she developed attraction to Krishna. This is one of the common theme in the 10th canto, how gopis, how Brahmanas' wives, they just heard Krishna Katha and developed attraction to Krishna, like that. So then Krishna comes and he takes the hand of Rukmini by defeating all the warriors who are standing like a Kshatriya. Kshatriya is a pride to fight with other kings and take away the bride, like that. That's he mentions that pastime. And then he mentions Krishna marries 8 of the first queens in different circumstances. One of the queen name is Nagnijiti. This is one of the multiple choice questions for you. Nagnijiti. So the way he married Nagnijiti is by defeating 7 bulls which are uncontrollable. It's described. They didn't have the nose thread. See how you're seeing here nose thing. When you have the nose thread thing, that means bull is controlled already. When Krishna was asked to control them, they did not have the thread also. What did Krishna do? Krishna exhibited his supremacy by expanding himself into 7 forms of Krishna, and then fighted with the bulls and got them under control. That's how he got the hand of Nagnijiti, one of his queens, that he narrates like that. And then Krishna, how he served his queens in response to their devotional service. Like especially Satyabhama here in the picture, she wanted Parijata tree because one time Krishna got a Parijata flower for Rukmini. So he told Satyabhama that I'll get you a whole tree. Don't worry about the flower. So he finally gets a Parijata tree by fighting with Indra, it is described there. So he pleases his dear wife. In this section, one of the lessons we learned is that how Krishna is reciprocating with his queen's devotional service, not just is enamored by their beauty or lust, like that. They're engaged in menial service for Krishna, thinking themselves as servants of Krishna, and Krishna is reciprocating with them in loving devotion service to them also. That's one of the lessons we can learn from here. Then he describes how Krishna killed Narakasura and established his son as the king one time. So this is another pastime that is beautifully described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So again, actually, one more lesson in that pastime of Narakasura is Narakasura became a demoniac by the bad association. So we also need to watch out what kind of association we are keeping in our life, either through personally, physically meeting somebody, or whom we are hearing, what we are seeing with the senses, what we are consuming with our senses. That also is association. So, and then is described after killing Narakasura, he accepted so many princesses that were there, that were kidnapped by Narakasura, as his wives. That's why he's protecting them. Because normally in Vedic culture, nobody would marry them anymore because some person has kidnapped them like that. So Krishna gave them shelter and married them as his wives. Again, here also, he showed his supremacy by expanding himself into so many forms of Krishna and marrying each of them in different palaces like that. And he kept them in each of them in he had 16,108 queens. In each of them, he had made a wonderful palace for them. And with each of them, he spent full time, quality time. And he got 10 offsprings from each of the princesses described also. Like that, Krishna's marriage is described in Dwarka. This is again going to Dwarka life of Krishna. And then he says, now he starts to describe how Krishna loves to give credit to his devotees like that. Not only he does great things and becomes famous, he loves to give credit to his devotees. Like in this pastime in the left side picture, we see how Kalevana is being killed by Muchukunda when he got up from his sleep. The pastime goes briefly. One time, two great demons, Kalayavana and Jarasandha, were trying to attack Madura from two different directions with lots of army. And Krishna arranged it such a way that he was running away, and Kalayavana trying to catch him. Finally, he takes him to a cave where this Muchukunda is a devotee, was taking rest after having fought battles on behalf of demigod for so long. And he got a benediction that he will sleep for a long time. If somebody disturbs his sleep, if he sees him, they will be burned to ashes like that. So utilize that opportunity for Muchukunda to get up and Kalevana to be burned to ashes. And apparently there is a background here where Krishna gave a word that he will not kill Kalevana also. So many things Krishna accomplishes in one time. Apparently Lord Shiva gave some benediction to Kalevana that he will not be killed by Supreme Lord, it seems. So he took care of so many things in one pastime like that. And then he describes that Krishna and Balaram personally killed so many demons like this. Some names he gives. And not only they personally killed so many demons, but Krishna arranged for killing so many demoniac kings in the battle of Kurukshetra through in the form of Arjuna, through his devotee. And Arjuna got all the credit like that. And Krishna loves to give credit to his devotees like that. And he says Duryodhana was unlucky due to ill advice. What ill advice? Because he had bad association of Sekuni, Dushasana like that. That's why he got ill advice always. When we have good association, then we get good advice. We can appreciate good qualities and we can develop good qualities. We can get good advice and we can grow in bhakti. But Duryodhana did not do like that. But still, Krishna was not happy when he saw Duryodhana suffering, laying down on the battlefield, dying. So that's the merciful nature of Krishna. Again, he's glorifying here. And then Krishna considered his own Yadu dynasty to be burden on earth. And he planned a quarrel among themselves so that they will fight and they will go away before Krishna disappears. This is a very involved pastime. Some of it will describe in later verses today. But essentially, our acharyas give wonderful commentaries that is described in BBD purports, 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, first few chapters. But I'll mention a couple of them. One is Krishna's Yadu dynasty had two categories of people primarily. One is eternal associates who came with Krishna, and the demigods who came as a service to Krishna. So he wanted to make sure the demigod portion of the Yadu dynasty, they need to go back to the demigod positions before he goes back to his planet. That's why he arranged that demigod portion of Yadus come to this Prabhas Kshetra and fight among themselves on the pretext of a curse by Brahmanas that we'll describe also shortly. So that's one way Acharya is described. Another way he describes is, Acharya Jiva Goswami especially describes is on a positive side. He says, Krishna's eternal associates cannot bear separation of Krishna if Krishna disappears before them. And they will do all sorts of things to destroy everybody in the world. So Krishna wanted to make sure they don't get devastated like that. That's why he wanted to send them first. And then he will go later on like that. These are two short reasons I'm giving, but we'll discuss some more reasons as the pastime develops in the coming chapters. So then Krishna established Yudhishthira Maharaj as the emperor of earth. Why? Because when pure devotees ruling the earth, then he can ensure all the citizens' consciousness is uplifted. So they understand the purpose of life. They work towards the purpose of life. Even though some may go slowly, some may go fast, doesn't matter. All of them will make sure gradually they're going towards purpose of life like that. And Krishna also protected Parishad Maharaj when he was in the womb of Uttara is described. Why? Again for the same reason. He wanted to have a devotee king who will take care of the earth nicely after his disappearance like that. And then Krishna induced Yudhishthira Maharaj to perform 3 Ashwamedha sacrifices. We heard about this in first canto already. How this, even though he did only 3 sacrifices, but his fame grew a lot more than Indra, who did 100 sacrifices, Ashwamedha sacrifices like that. So then Krishna ruled over Dwarka as an ideal ruler. Of course, we commonly hear that Krishna made Ugrasena as the ruler. So Krishna was consulted, but here he's describing like as if Krishna is the ruler in this section. So going to the next section. So Krishna's body is residence of Lakshmi Devi, goddess of fortune. That means is so opulent like that, is glorifying him. And then Krishna enjoys his pastimes with Yadus and his queens. And at last, there is a typo here, at last manifested detachment from household life. That's the lesson from us. Even though Krishna demonstrated with his personal example how he enjoyed so religiously by sticking to the Vaishnava conduct, by listening to Brahmanas, by worshipping Brahmanas, but still at the end he also expressed detachment. Like that, so for us also, we need to look forward to Vanaprastha life from Grihastha life. Of course, how physically it shapes up as Vanaprastha is different, but the principle is we are more and more absorbed in Krishna, less and less absorbed in material affairs, basically. But the details can change from each person to another person. Prabhupada elaborates how to do that in several purports in Bhagavatam. So then, Lord can only be understood by devotees by rendering bhakti. That's a common thing we see in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam also. Only when we perform bhakti to Krishna, then we're in right mood and right attitude for Krishna to bestow his mercy. So we'll understand a little bit about Krishna. That's why when we're performing bhakti, we're not performing bhakti in a fruity mode. Oh, I'm going to conquer Krishna. I'm going to chant 16 rounds very attentively, so Krishna has to listen to me. We don't do in that mode. I want to do Krishna chanting very attentively, hear Krishna Katha nicely, so that Krishna is pleased with me. So even though I'm not qualified, Krishna will give me some mercy, so I can go towards him. Like that, in that mood, we perform our devotion service. Then now he starts to describe the Maushala Leela in brief now, even though it's elaborated in the 11th canto. Basically, Krishna created the circumstances by his own will. That is repeated in several purports here in 11th canto also. Everything is happening by Krishna's will. Otherwise, these things will not normally happen like that. That's a common theme. So by Krishna's will, what happens is Yadu's princess one time go to the sages, great sages, and then they act before them that uh, one of them Samba is one of the descendants of Krishna. He acts like as if he is pregnant, like you see here in this picture, and then they ask him, oh, is she going to have a baby daughter or baby son like that? Please tell. Then sages are very elevated. They can see through that external things. So they curse them, saying that no, yes, he will give birth to an iron club, and that will become distraction of your Yadu dynasty, like that they curse him. So externally it may appear like this circumstance. Krishna is teaching through this also that we should not offend great Vaishnavas and Brahmanas anytime like that. And then Brahmanas are cursing like that only by the will of Krishna, like that also is described in this section. So then they go off, and then by Krishna's will, the demigods portions of the Yadu dynasty go to Prabhasha on the instruction of Krishna actually. Well, the eternal devotees remain in Dwarka, and the Yadus perform sacrifices there. And by permission of Brahmanas, they take remnants of sacrifice that includes liquor also, rice-based liquor it is described, and they accept it and they become intoxicated. But see, they are also offering charity to Brahmanas at this place is described. And then that section will go on the next chapter, how that Moshala Leela continues like that. So overall in this section, we saw Krishna's upbringing in Madhura, his education and his marriages with different queens in Dwaraka, and then how he's killing different demons by himself directly and through his devotees to give them credit, how he spent his time in Dwaraka, and some of the events that are leading to annihilation of the Yadu dynasty, Moshala Leela, we saw in this chapter. Now going to the fourth chapter. So let me see the time once, 7:34. Okay. So we have 25 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll spend few minutes in this chapter, and then I'll give some time for a discussion or questions or comments that you have, so we can discuss more, because Bhagavatam is meant to be discussed. So the overview of this chapter is the disappearance of Yadus will continue, and then Lord Krishna meets Uddhava and Maitreya Muni, and then Uddhava glorifies and prays to Krishna, and hearing from Krishna, Uddhava starts to go for Badrikashram, and then Vidura uh, uh, starts to seek spiritual knowledge from Uddhava, but then meaning he wants to become his disciple, but Udra is guided by Uddhava to go to meet Maitreya. So that's where this chapter ends, and the next chapter we'll see more about Vidura Maitreya conversation. We'll go into some more detail now. Basically, remember I told you how Vidura, Yadu, the demigod portion of Yadus, went to Prabhas Kshetra on instruction of Krishna, and then they drank liquor and they became delirious, and they fighted one among each other and they died. All of them died like that, according to Krishna's plan. And Krishna sat underneath a young banyan tree at the bank of Saraswati river, and then Krishna gave instruction to Uddhava to go to Badrikashram and give his association to Narnarayan Rishi and the sages there, because Krishna could not personally give his association like that is described. And then he says Krishna was sitting alone under the young banyan tree on the bank of river Saraswati, and he was exhibiting his beautiful four-handed form also at that time, and he was in yellow garments like that is described, and he was resting there. And why young banyan tree is emphasized in the purport? That because this particular universe is the smallest universe that is represented by young banyan tree, it seems, under which Krishna is taking shelter. Even though Krishna is shelter of everybody, Krishna is taking shelter under a young banyan tree in this illustration. At that time, while Uddhava met Krishna, Maitreya also arrived by his own good fortune somehow or other. And interestingly, even though both Uddhava and Maitreya were there, because Uddhava was the pure devotee and exalted devotee, Krishna was spending more time looking at Uddhava. He didn't spend much time to look at Maitreya, it's described in the section. And it's also described that Maitreya had earlier Gnana tendencies, but he became a devotee by hearing the conversation between Krishna and Uddhava also. And Krishna describes Uddhava, you wanted my association, I gave you my association. Your present life is the last life. You can go back to Vaikunta, like that he describes. And at the beginning of this creation, I spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Brahma, but I will speak something more valuable than that to you. Paramam Sthitim, my transcendental situation, I will explain to you, like that he describes. So Uddhava speaks to Vidura. I was overwhelmed by Lord's reciprocation. Like that he describes. And then Uddhava speaks to Lord saying that, I prefer your service, not for Purushadhas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. I don't want any of those material benefits. I want your service, like that is saying to Uddhava, Uddhava is saying to Lord. And he says, even the great sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see your bewildering activities. Some of them we discussed in the previous chapters, right? Then he says, what are some bewildering activities? He'll explain again here. Then what is this? Those, even though you are the Supreme Lord, you are consulted me. What is the right thing to do? That bewilders me, like that. And then kindly explain to us the Srimad Bhagavatam, knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he says, Lord actually instructed me about Paramam Sthiti, transcendental situation, like that he says. The details are not given in Srimad Bhagavatam, what exactly he described, that details are not given to us. Of course, we hear the knowledge from Maitreya given to Vidura, which is what Uddhava also heard from Krishna. And then he says, I have studied the path of self-knowledge from the Lord directly, personally. That means Lord became like his spiritual master to Uddhava to give him the transcendental knowledge. And then he says, now I'm proceeding to Badrikashram, where Narayana rishis are doing penances, like that. So, here, hearing about annihilation of relatives, Vidura pacified himself with the transcendental knowledge, it seems. That means he's the elevated devotee, so he could handle himself. He didn't go down fully depressed, like that. And then he says, Vidura glorifies devotees, saying that devotees wanted to serve others. Kindly describe the self-knowledge. What does it mean? When pure devotees are coming to visit, we should be eager to take their association. Not that, look, they want my donation, not like that. They're coming to give benefit us. They're not looking for any kind of benefit from us. Then we can, when you're in that mood, we'll ready to take their association nicely. And then Uddhava says, you want to become my disciple? Actually, first of all, you are elder to me. And second of all, Krishna gave me a service to go to Badrikashram. And third of all, Maitreya Muni is very close by. He is very elder to me. And he is appropriate for you to give instruction to you. You should take shelter of superior while superior is there. Like that, he didn't want to do Maryada Vitikrama. That means when superiors are there, you don't become eager. Oh, okay, I know the answer. I'll tell. When superiors are there, we need to let them give the answer. Because even though we know some answer, superiors actually have greater realization. Same words might be there. But generally, when we're speaking Bhagavatam or giving some knowledge or answer, information may be same, but the purity may be different. Senior devotees have higher purity that will have a greater impact on transformation of other devotees. So we should remember that. Even though we know the answer, when senior devotees are there, we should be eager to hear from them rather than telling them, oh, you know what, I know this, you know what, I know this, like that. That's what he's showing with a personal example, Uddhava here. And it's described, Uddhava spent the night like a moment and departed in the morning to Badrika Ashram to serve Krishna. And then Parishit Maharaj asks, why did Uddhava, how did Krishna choose, why did Krishna choose Uddhava only? Why did only Uddhava remain on this planet? You should also have gone there. Like that, Parishit Maharaj asks question. And he says, the Lord dispatched all his family members. Why didn't he send Uddhava also? Then is describing, Lord thought to himself, what was Lord thinking? Uddhava is the only one who can be entrusted with this service, the knowledge about me, transcendental knowledge. Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way. He is the only one who can deliver this knowledge to Narnarayan Rishis at Badrika Ashram. Like that he thought. That means Krishna thought Uddhava is such a capable devotee, pure devotee, to do this service for him. So then Vidura also heard about the appearance and disappearance of the Lord from Uddhava. So non-devotees can never understand this past tense. Why? They'll think, oh, Krishna disappeared. Oh, that means he's also having like me, a material body. Like that they'll think. But when we hear from devotees, when we have some bhakti, we can understand. Why did Lord do like that? To bewilder some non-devotees. And uh, to benefit us with Krishna Katha, all these pastimes are being enacted like that. So then Vidura was feeling full of gratitude when he heard from Uddhava that Supreme Lord gave personal instructions to you before he left the planet. So we can also feel grateful when somebody just remembered us just before they left the body. Like that, right? In this case, Krishna didn't leave the body. Krishna disappeared from this planet. So I was fully grateful like that. Finally, on the instruction of Uddhava, Vidura reached the Ganges and met Maitreya Muni. It's described as like Ganges Muni. Ganges river is near Haridwar, it seems. That's where Vidura met Maitreya. That's where the next chapter we'll see Vidura and Maitreya conversation like that. So in this chapter, we heard continuation of disappearance of Edu dynasty, and then how Krishna met Uddhava and Maitreya Rishi, and then how Uddhava glorified Krishna, and then Uddhava started for his service to Badrika Ashram, and Uddhava respected Maitreya Muni and asked Vidura to consult him, become his disciple instead. And Vidura finally sought shelter at Maitreya Muni. We'll hear the details of Vidura Maitreya conversation in the next few chapters. So that is the essence for these 4 chapters. So 15 minutes is left. I want to touch on one theme. This is from Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Swami Maharaj. He has a summary of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's called Book Bhagavata. I put a link also. All of you will get the material, this PDF file for you from the portal. It will be uploaded soon so that you can download it and you can refer to this link also. So because we have lack of time, I'll explain it briefly. Basically, first 4 chapters of this canto are telling us stories. And through stories, they're giving wonderful lessons for us. In fact, Bhagavatam is wonderful like that. And stories are very, very powerful. That's what is being explained in the top portion of the picture. Why they're powerful? Because they offer life lessons for us by practically showing how some people are doing what, like we heard in several lessons today. And they are also very personal to us because we can relate to our own experience. Oh, I also got difficulty, but that time I shouted back at the other person. But Vidura, see, is so elevated, he took it as a mercy of Krishna, like that we can understand. And it also touches us a deeper emotional level, not just intellectual level stories. And then also stories are digestible because very complex things, they'll make it very easy for us to understand. And also, if somebody tells me, oh, you have pride, to avoid pride, you need to do this, then I will not listen anything they're telling. But if they're telling, oh, Indra in this circumstance has pride, so Krishna treated him like this. See, pride has so much drawback. Then I'll understand, wow, I also have that pride like Indra. Like that we can relate. Otherwise, our false ego doesn't accept anything. And stories can be remembered 20 times more possibility of remembering stories compared to facts, it seems. That the research shows like that. That's the first part of this picture. And the second bottom portion is we should be good listeners when we are hearing Krishna Katha. So for that, there are 4 examples that Keshav Swami Maharaj takes from Bhagavatam. I'll briefly explain them. Chataka bird. Many of us might have heard Chataka bird. It only drinks water when rain is falling, it seems. Not from any pond, not from any river, like that. Similarly, we hear only from authorized scriptures, authorized sources, from people in Guru Parampara, like that. That is a lesson we can learn from Chataka bird. And swan, we all know, most of us know, that when there's a mixture of milk and water, it can only take the milk. It will leave all the water alone. Similarly, when we hearing whole big conversation or whole Krishna Katha, we need to understand what is the essence for me from his class for me. So we need to pick the essence and we need to contemplate. What does it mean? How can I apply it in my life? Then we grow in bhakti, zoom, 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 like that. That's what we can learn from swan. And from parrot, parrot has the capacity to repeat whatever it hears regularly. Similarly, when we grasp the subject matter nicely by listening attentively, we can also share that Krishna Katha for others' benefit, like that. And then another thing about fish. Fish, I did not know this about this. Fish apparently, when it's drinking something, in this book he talks about milk ocean, concentrated milk, when fish is drinking milk like that. Apparently, when fish is drinking something, it doesn't get distracted, it seems. It doesn't even flicker his eyelid also. So attentive. Similarly, when we are listening Krishna Katha, we should be focused. and listening with full attention from sadhus and scriptures, or when you're reading scriptures also. So I want to pause there for any reflections or comments or questions you might have, or if anybody has any corrections also. If by mistake I shared something, please feel free to correct also, so I can learn also myself. Hare Krishna. Satyam Prabhuji. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dhanavad Pranam. Jai Shila Prabhupada.
Manandram.
First of all, thank you, Prabhu, for the nice class summary. I have so many questions now, Prabhu,
Sure.
because it's like so much information in a short period.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, I got confused first place, like when Vidura met Maitreya Muni, is this before? I know Vidura left Hastinapur when before Kurukshetra war, because he didn't want to take part, or right, he was going to the pilgrimage.
Mhm.
And he also mentioned like Duryodhana chastised him and he left.
Correct.
Is this he met Maitreya Muni that time or after Kurukshetra war?
Vidura met Maitreya Muni. Vidura met Uddhava also after Kurukshetra war. Vidura met Maitreya Muni also after Kurukshetra war only. Basically, what happened is, by that time, actually, when Vidura met Uddhava, by that time even Krishna disappeared. Not only Kurukshetra war happened. Make sense?
But then how Duryodhana chastised?
Got it. So basically, what happened is, in order to describe Vidura met Maitreya, Sukadeva Goswami started to describe long time ago. Vidura left Hastinapur because of the insulting of Duryodhana, and then he went for pilgrimage for a long time. During that time, Kurukshetra was happening parallelly, and then after Kurukshetra war, Vidura met Uddhava and Maitreya Muni. That's how the sequence goes. Make sense?
Okay, then Vidura comes back.
Yes. Vidura comes, and again Vidura goes back. First canto we heard again another thing. Vidura goes back to Dhritarashtra to instruct him and deliver him also.
Right.
Yeah, that is the sequence. Actually, there is a nice article by not article. I will share with you resource also. Basically, Rompa Swamaraj wrote this thing that gives the whole sequence. What happened first? What happened next? What happened next? Like that. I'll put it here for you, so you can take it from the chat also. But your answer to your question is, this all happened after Kurukshetra war only. But this whole sequence also will be, you might love it because you are asking the chronology. This chronology will be helpful for you.
And so when Vidura left next time with Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, that time it didn't happen. This was before that, like the first time he left, right? Prabhuji was present. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I don't know what happened. I got disconnected here. Go ahead, Prabhuji. When Vidura left with Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, you were telling.
Yeah, so Vidura left Gandhari with Dhritarashtra like second time, right? So these are all before that. So it's like the first time he left, and then he made all these personality, came back, and then he left again.
Yes, correct. Exactly. You got it. Yes. Two times he left. Yeah.
So and sure.
Second time was the final time. Yeah.
And why all of a sudden from Padmakalpa to why Vidura and Maitreya conversation, Parikshit Maharaj, why all of a sudden? Is there any link there or?
Okay. Oh, how did that? I do not remember the whole details now. I can research and try to find you tomorrow. Unless any other devotee on the call remembers, please share also. Any other devotees have an answer for that question by any chance? Please feel free to unmute and share. Okay. If not, I'll look up Prabhuji tomorrow.
Yeah. I have a lot of other questions, but I will let others and then I'll ask Prabhu.
Sure, Satyam Prabhu. Nice questions. Thank you. Yeah. Prahlad Prabhuji, please go ahead, Prabhuji.
Dhanavad Pranam Prabhuji.
Dhanavad Pranam Prabhuji.
Very much for a very excellent class. First of all, I must appreciate the excellent PPTs you prepared. It's so nice.
Thank you.
I wish we get those PPTs. You are going to post it here.
I'll post it. Really, actually, Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's only Prabhu. I copied from him but I
Okay.
don't have access to the presentation slide. So prepared by seeing a slide.
Okay, but this was real good.
Thank you.
Another thing is, you mentioned about whenever those people who were killed on battlefield of Kurukshetra, because they were seeing Lord Krishna, they all got liberated like that.
Yes.
But I heard some senior devotees saying that all of them did not get a liberation only. Some those who were favorable, they went beyond liberation.
Yes, you're right, Prabhu.
Only those who were inimical, those are the ones who got liberated. So I didn't know that, and then I say, yeah, that makes sense to me. So this was real good, that thing. And another thing you mentioned about Narkasur.
Yes,
Narkasur is actually son of Lord Krishna in Varaha form, right?
correct.
And
yeah,
and then he killed because of he degraded as a demon.
Yes.
And you said that he enthroned one of his sons as replacement.
Yeah, one of his son, after killing Narakasura, his son was made the king, like that.
What's that? His name?
I don't remember the name,
Oh,
Prabhu. I can look up.
Yeah, that was I was wondering, because I didn't find that anywhere. Okay.
Oh, sure. I'll see if the 10th canto mentions it or not. I don't remember. I will look up, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay. Also about, when Lord Krishna married all those 16,100 women under Narkasur, they had only 10 sons from each of them, plus there was one daughter also, I understand.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
what
don't remember.
10
I don't
sons and
remember
a
how many
daughter.
daughters. Yeah.
Of
The
them
verse
that
talks
I-
about the 10 sons. Verse talks about 10 sons. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that. Yeah.
And when you mentioned about Lord Krishna's, all the three things, three modes of material nature, three pairs of opulences. So what was the last thing? I didn't catch it.
3 worlds, that is upper worlds, middle worlds, upper planet systems.
3 loka, okay.
3 lokas, yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay. So these are some of the, otherwise the discourse was excellent. I really appreciate that. And another point which came to my mind about when you were talking about Vidura coming back, this Maharaj appreciated him. So he said that Bhavad Vida Bhagavata Kim Bhavad Vida Bhagavata Tirth Bhuta Swayam Vibho Tirthi Bhuvanti Tirthani Yasyanta Gadabhruta. So this was a very excellent appreciation of Vidur by Yudhishthira Maharaj. And another thing about Tirth was Yasyatma Buddhi Kuna Pe Tirthatuke. That was also a good reference there, like that. So thank you very much. It was so good. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dhruv. Thank you for the correction also. First canto purport Prabhupada mentions what you're talking about, that favorable people only went back. Yeah. Thank you, Dhruv.
Also, I appreciate, you mentioning about those MCQs. Actually, I went through all of them before starting this, and they were so nicely covered, at least for first 4 chapters, like that.
Yes,
so, that way it will prepare us kind of, to pass the exams like that and all that. So thank you, Maharaj, again, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dhruv.
I didn't know your name, Prabhuji.
My name is Sundarananda Das.
Sundarananda Das. Where are you located, Prabhuji?
I'm in the Baltimore Temple area, Prabhuji.
Baltimore. Okay, thank you. I'm in Las Vegas. So I was just
okay. Nice, Prabhu. Yeah.
Very well.
Thank you. Thank you for your association, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Alvahni, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. My question is, like when you mentioned about the death of the Yadus, like they killing each other, right? And actually only left 4 and 5. But I want to know, is it the one they they kill each other? Is it all are the sons of Krishna? They killing each other? Is it?
It's not only sons. Basically, different family members. They all remember. The context was Krishna made an arrangement that all the Yadu dynasty members who came from demigods who took part in as Yadu dynasty members, they all went to Prabhashetra, like that. It's not mentioned just only sons. Basically, all family members like that is mentioned. So they all fighted among themselves so that they can go back to their demigod positions again, Mataji. Make sense?
Yes, but is it sons of Krishna, right?
Sons of Krishna also.
Yes,
some of the sons of Krishna also.
Okay. Is it sons of Krishna? It's also Krishna's expansion? Like, you know, Aniruddha, and
Ah,
some of them, they are expansion of Krishna. So is it all of them, like each of the queen have 10 sons? Is it all of them expansion of Krishna, all the sons? I don't know.
no, what I heard is the names you mentioned, like Aniruddha, Pradyumna, like that, they are personal expansions of Krishna himself. So they are counted among the eternal associates and expansions of Krishna. But others maybe from different categories. We don't hear any specific reference that all the sons are expansions of Krishna, or most of the sons are not expansions of Krishna. I didn't see any reference like that. But we see the reference that Aniruddha, Pradyumna, like that, they're personal expansions of Krishna, like that, Mataji. Yes.
Okay, so some of them are like
Some of them for sure. Yeah.
demigods.
Yes.
So
Some of them
okay.
possibly are demigods, but we don't see a specific quote saying that some of the sons are demigods like that.
Okay.
Makes sense? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes. Satyam Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhu. If someone has other question, I'll let them ask, then I'll ask.
Sure.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavad pranams, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
God
Mataji.
bless you,
Dandavad
Srila
pranam, Mataji.
Prabhupada. Wonderful
Prabhu.
narration, Prabhu. 4
Thank you.
chapters you narrated so nicely within an hour and a half. Very nice.
Thank
Very
you,
nice,
Mataji.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Prabhu, I found the answer for Satyam Prabhu's question.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
That how come all of a sudden Vidura, Maitreya, Uddhava all coming here is at the end of the second canto. Shaunaka Rishi is asking Sutta Goswami to tell them about what conversation happened between Vidura and Maitreya, because he heard it in the first canto, right? Vidura coming back and delivering Dhritarashtra. All of a sudden, one chapter happened there, and after that, nothing about Vidura. Then all the other chapters talked about Parikshit Maharaj birth activities, and then the topic switched to creation. The second canto is all about creation and all that. So now Shaunaka Rishi is changing the gear and asking the last 2 verses. He's asking, can you tell us, Vidura met Maitreya before meeting Dhritarashtra, right? So can you tell us about the conversation, why he disconnected from family connection, and then he went to pilgrimage and heard from Maitreya, and what all happened. So that is one verse coming in end of second canto, and that's the reason these are starting now. So
Sure.
now it is Bhagavatam is like conversation inside conversation inside conversation kind of. Between
Yes.
Sutta Goswami and until I think 5th canto, it goes like that. I also, whenever I read, sometimes all of a sudden, Parikshit Maharaj will be asking questions to Sukadev Goswami, Shaunaka Rishi will be asking to Sutta Goswami, Vidura will be asking Maitreya. So there is conversation between inside conversation. So one group is asking to narrate, and then whatever Sutta Goswami heard from Sukadev Goswami will be explaining to the sages. So we will also, the next 2 cantos, it will be like that. We will hear all the conversation. So
Yeah. Thank you so much,
thank you,
Mataji.
Prabhu. I just wanted to add. Thank you so
Wonderful,
much.
Mataji. Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing. Yeah. That helped you, Satyam Prabhuji?
Yeah, Mataji, thank you very much. But Prabhu, if I summarize how Vidura traveled, so looks like Vidura left Hastinapur. He first met Uddhava, and this is same Uddhava who met Shri Krishna in Dwarika, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he met Uddhava. By that time, Krishna also left for for his abode, and Vidura had a conversation with Uddhava first.
Yes.
Uddhava tells all the stories, and then Uddhava also mentioned that Krishna, Lord told him to meet Maitreya Muni and talk to him. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct.
And then Vidura kind of started like working to the north or something like that, and then he met Maitreya Muni, and there is a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya Sambad, and then he comes back to Hastinapur.
Yeah. Correct, perfect. You got it, the sequence right. Yeah. I didn't cover this slide for all the 4 chapters, but you summarized what the same thing properly, nicely, bro. Yeah.
I have other questions, Prabhu.
Sure, bro.
So it mentioned like Dhritarashtra, when Draupadi was dissolved, Dhritarashtra didn't protest.
Correct.
Was it because of his like he was blind by his so sons, basically son ke prati jo bhi whatever
Attachment.
attachment he had, is this because of that?
Yeah, what that section describes, that Dhritarashtra was, even Bhagavad Gita and also even Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhritarashtra is described not only as physically blind but also spiritually blind, like that is described. But it's primarily because of his attachment towards his son and his own attachment to enjoy the kingdom. And you know how in material world we'll see, if I didn't become a doctor, I want my son to become a doctor. So similarly, he had that thing. I could not enjoy the kingdom properly. My son should enjoy the kingdom properly, like that. So that's the attachment. Because of that attachment blinds us. We cannot see what is right or wrong, like that. That's how I understood, Prabhu.
So attachment to the throne and attachment to his son.
Yeah, correct.
And also it was mentioned like Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to get rid of his son.
Yes.
He said get rid of his son. Is it like killing him or?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact verse what it says. I can look up. Basically, saying that don't listen to him, let him go, like that. That's
Okay.
my recollection, but I can look up the specific verse, Prabhuji.
But not like killing him, right?
Yeah, no, I don't remember like killing, but I can look up one time for sure. Yeah.
And can you, Prabhu, one more time tell, like you talked about 2 Maya, one is Yoga Maya and the other one was?
Mahamaya.
So Mahamaya is external energy?
Yeah, correct. External energy, internal energy. So you want to know more about it?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, sure. I can explain briefly. This is a nice, easy way to remember it, understand it. Basically, when somebody is trying to go away from Krishna, like conditioned souls who want to enjoy separately from Krishna, then Mahamaya acts for them. That means same Maya is one energy of Krishna, but it's acting as Mahamaya for them. That means it's trying to keep away from Krishna. They'll forget Krishna. They'll think this is the only life left. I should enjoy this best. I am this body, like that. That is Mahamaya. Now, in this one common example we hear is in spiritual world, or when Krishna's pastimes are happening with his pure devotees, then Yoga Maya is acting in that interactions. For example, when Yasodamata sees within the mouth of Krishna whole universe, then Yoga Maya acts so that she'll forget that he's Supreme Lord. She'll still think that he's her son only. Son will become hungry, I need to feed him, like that. That's in that level, it's Yoga Maya acting like that. So similarly, in devotee life, anything pulling us closer to Krishna, that is like Yoga Maya acting in that sense.
So is it the same Durga Devi or?
Oh no, that's an interesting question. That's also there in askrompaswami.com site. I will show you, but I can share with you. Basically, Durga is only the external energy of Krishna. She is the expansion of the original Subhadra. Subhadra means internal energy of Krishna. She is the expansion of that. She's like shadow of the internal energy. So we cannot equate them. Durga equals Subhadra, not like that. Make sense? Yeah.
But
Durga is like Mahamaya.
No, he acts as in the Mahamaya.
Yeah, correct.
Jaya Vyasya Bhuna Vibharti Durga. This is the Brahma Samhita sloka, Prabhu. Sorry for interrupting.
Nice, bro. Thank you, bro. Yeah, please share, bro. Yeah, please add anything more also. Feel free. Yeah.
And Prabhu, what is that Uddhava Gita? So what Vidura heard from Uddhava, is it the Uddhava Gita?
Yes. And you know what? That link I sent you, if you made a note, that talks about which one is Uddhava Gita. First time Krishna spoke to Uddhava in Dwaraka. That is Uddhava Gita. Not the second time where Uddhava and Maitreya heard. That is not Uddhava Gita. That's all also given in that sequence for you.
Okay. And what was that like when Uddhava, Krishna spoke to Uddhava in Dwarika? So that talks about different thing than Gita, or it's the same?
Yeah, Krishna talks about in Dwaraka, you said?
Yeah, that time you said that's Uddhava Gita, right? When Krishna...
That is the Gita. And that is explained in the 11th canto, several chapters. And it's a very beautiful, out of whole Bhagavatam, of course, 10th canto, many devotees relish as sweet pastimes. But 11th canto is very juicy section. It will explain you Bhagavad Gita in simple way, nice way to understand. Krishna will tell, you try to cultivate mode of goodness. And then once you get to mode of goodness, but as you grow in devotion, then leave goodness, transcend goodness. Is explained so nicely.
But the concept is same, right? Like what is Krishna Bhagavad Gita, which he told to Arjuna, the same concept he told to Uddhava.
Principle is that engage in devotional service to perfect your life. That is the same principle in essence for Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam or even Uddhav Gita. But the details, how it is told, Krishna tells with stories in Uddhav Gita, for example. And Bhagavad Gita is telling one verse like that. The principle is same.
Bhagavad Gita is like more intense. I think this one will be
condensed, yeah. Condensed principles, like how some pure devotees, they make one statement that encompasses so many things. Like that, you can imagine Krishna. He makes a statement, it has so condensed and is enriched with everything.
Yep. Got it, bro. And so, yeah, where did Vidura met Uddhava? He met it in Vrindavan?
On the banks of the Yamuna, it is described. I don't know the place, I don't know. Yamuna, how far it goes, I don't know the geography.
Okay.
But the banks of Yamuna, that much we know from verses. Yeah.
And Prabhu, in one of your slides, there was like 3:142 verse. It says like astonished by something. I didn't get like astonished by whom or what.
Oh, okay.
3:142.
3:142, I can go back to that. Oh, it's taking slowly, I think. Astonished by something, you said. Okay, let me see. I have Bhagavatam book also before me, 3:142. I'm not astonished at this, having traveled over the world without being seen by others. The activities of Krishna, which are like those of a man in this mortal world, are bewildering to others. But to know his greatness by his grace, and thus I'm happy in all respects. Basically, he's saying that some people will think by seeing Krishna's different activities, bewildering activities we discussed, right? Oh, he's also a great human being. But somebody like him, who's a pure devotee, they cannot make that mistake. They understand Krishna is Supreme Lord. Even though he's in a small baby, even though he's running away from battlefield, still is Supreme Lord. Like that way. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. I have other questions, but I think Padmini Mataji is trying to ask.
Sure, Prabhuji. Yeah.
May I make a small comment before?
Please go ahead, Prabhuji. Yeah.
This Uddhav Gita is a beautiful, beautiful book published by, Bhumipati Das and Iswar Das. It's very nice. I don't know whether you can see this here, but it's a very
we can see. Yeah.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary they have put there.
Oh,
excellent.
Okay.
That was an excellent one, but it's a bit big one. Like
Thank you for sharing, Prabhuji. Yeah. Yeah, Padmini Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I really had 2 hours of the program that you gave today. This is just like eating a spoon of condensed milk, It was so sweet and good. But I have only one small clarification. I don't know whether I got it right. You were at one point describing that hearing Krishna Katha is like Kirtan, I do need a little bit of expansion on that because Kirtan is... Yeah, so I would request you to give, because this is only one point where I heard hearing is a kirtan. So can you please expand on that, and I'll be very thankful.
Sure, Mataji. Yeah, sure, definitely. Normally, in the conventional sense, when Prahlad Maharaj is quoting a verse in 7th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear 9 process of devotion service. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, like that, right? In that sense, it's very, very clear. Shravanam means hearing, and Kirtanam means glorifying the Lord in terms of Kirtanam, like that. And then Smaranam. Prabhupada explains in that purport. When we do Shravanam, hearing properly, Kirtanam properly, that means speaking or glorifying, then it will be followed by remembrance, smaranam, like that. Prabhupada clearly makes a distinction. But this I was referring to, I think it was Gauranga Prabhu's class, where he was describing that, let us say we are in Bhagavatam class now together. So I am speaking Bhagavatam, that is Kirtanam, glorifying the Lord. But you are hearing the Krishna Katha, still that is glorifying the Lord. In that context, he was explaining. I don't know the reference for it. I will check if I can find anything, but that is a reference, Madhi. But it made sense to me, because remember we talked about Kirtaniya Sadahari, Trinadapi Sunichana, Tarodopi Sahishnana, Amanena Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. In that verse, what we're talking about is, when I have the qualities of humility, tolerance, respecting others always, and not expecting respect, then I can chant the holy name constantly, that way, like that we hear, right? That means I can also glorify Krishna all the time, like that. So similarly, we hear another example. Hopefully, I'm not confusing further, but I'm giving you some examples of how it made sense to me. One was that, right? That Kirtaniya Sadahari, constantly we need to glorify Krishna 24 hours. Now, we talk about in our movement Sankirtana. Sankirtana, common meaning we get is congregational chanting of the holy name. Common meaning, conventional meaning. But we also talk about monthly Sankirtan festival. Let's go for Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, that is glory, holy name. And then we talk about book distribution also, Sankirtan. How is book distribution Sankirtan? Because that's also glorification of Krishna. We're engaging somebody. Please take this book so that you can go closer to Krishna. And we said, tell them, Krishna has given wonderful instructions in this. So like that, that's also glorification of Krishna, Kirtanam. So like that, I was taking anything we're doing in service of Krishna. In one sense, it's glorification. Like that, I was taking Mataji. But I can see if there's any difference. Yeah.
No, I got your point, but I was really interested because in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is a chapter on hearing itself.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember right, it's 43 chapter of the West Side. So in that case, if it is basically only on hearing, that is going to have a connection with the Kirtan itself, then it will be a very, very interesting point. So I thought I will hear from you.
Sure.
How is it connected? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Sure. Welcome, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So you said Narakasur was the son of Krishna.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, okay. Okay. And in 3.3.4, there was some mention about, let me check, killed them. So I didn't get who was killed. And 3.3.4.
Okay, let me go there. 3.3.4. Lord Kid. Oh, where is the fourth? Oh, that one, Lord 1, Princess Nagnijiti. Okay, let me see. Oh, that's basically the side. I'm not able to share, looks like, right? Where is that sharing button? Yeah, it doesn't say who specifically, basically other Kshatriyas. This one you're talking about, killing or wounded the competitors, like that it's saying.
Right.
So the point here is, you probably know Kshatriya marriages are, they take pride in taking the bride with them. And in the process, other Kshatriyas will challenge. And Krishna defeated them and taken the wife, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Sure.
So Narakasura, how did he? There was a mention like with bad association. So what was that bad association? How it?
Oh, I do not remember who he associated with. Some other demons he associated with. Anybody else remembers on the call?
Bali Maharaj.
Bali Maharaj?
Yeah,
Oh.
because he was. I heard in a lecture saying that he was associated with Bali and others like that. Not Bali. I'm sorry, Banasur. Banasur, not Bali. Bali Maharaj was a devotee. Banasur was a great demon. and that's an association with Banasur. That's what I heard.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing. You have good memory. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I was confusing with Bali, but no, it's
Okay.
Banasur. Yes.
Panasara, okay.
Yeah, okay.
And Prabhuji was asking, how he is the son of Krishna. This is in when Bhagavan Krishna killed Hiranyaks, become Varaha. That's the time he lifted earth, and that's the time she became pregnant by Varaha Murti, and that's how Varaha was born. This is what I also heard. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, nice, Prabhuji. Yeah.
So, Prabhu, we know Krishna has had like 16,108 wives, right?
Yes.
So, how many are those Narakasur captured? Like he abducted all this.
Yeah, Prahladana Maharaj, Prabhuji told that it's 16,100 queens from there. Yeah.
16,100 and
yeah. Eight were like this. Each of them is specifically married with different, like Nagnijiti, you heard? Like that he did some specific thing, like Satyabhama, Rukmini, all those names are there. Kalindi, different 8 principal queens.
And somewhere in today's talk, there is a Muchkunda story. What is that story?
Basically, Muchukunda was a king, earthly king. In those Vedic times, what happens is, earthly kings were also so powerful, and there was travel freely between heavenly planets and earthly planet also in those times. So demigods said, demigods always fight with the demons, right? Left and right, once like that. So can you please come and help us to fight with the demons? Like that they asked. So Muchukunda went, it seems, and then fought with the demigods, but for such a long time. Then after a long time of fighting, then they asked him, okay, now Kartikeya, I believe, comes. Then when Kartikeya becomes the next commander-in-chief, then they say, okay, thank you for your service. You can go if you want. Then he says, okay, good. Then they ask him, but you've done such a wonderful service. We want to give you something. Please ask something. Then Muchkunda asked, I want to sleep for a long time. And it is described. And he also asked, but if somebody disturbs me, if I look at them, they should be burned to ashes. Devotees describe the intent of his asking like that is, he was thinking that demigods will come back and ask me to fight again. They will wake me up. So he told that if I wake up, then they will get burnt like that. So, but that's what Krishna utilized in such a way, that benediction that given by demigods also. And then the Lord Shiva gave blessing to Kalayavana, it seems, that Supreme Lord cannot kill you like that. So then he used both of them, and then he made them both enter into one place. And then Kalayavana opened his eye, and this guy, Kalayavana, thought it is Krishna hiding in the cave, sleeping. So he goes and kicks Muchukunda. Muchukunda wakes up and sees. The moment he sees, he becomes ashes like that. So Krishna is a wonderful orchestrator of pastimes like that.
Yeah. One last question, Prabhu.
Yes,
So I heard about Naranara and Rishis.
And only one question can I ask in between. I'm just confused about the time travel zones of these stories, because it's his pastime, it is spiritual, but Muchukunda from this end, he travels to another end where demigods have a problem, and then he comes back, and then Kartikeya enters. Kind of the time zone that would have happened is beyond our imagination. How do you understand that?
Nice question. Actually, the answer I heard for that was, actually, first let me support your statement with another pastime, brief pastime. So remember Balaram's wife Revati, her father also went to Lord Brahma, it seems, to find out who is the suitable husband. And by the time Lord Brahma responded to him and gave the answer, the whole yugas passed away. Several yugas passed away, it seems, down in the earthly planet. So your question makes sense. So only explanation I heard is, there are certain living entities who can live across so many yuga cycles, not just decades, not just centuries, not just few yugas, but yuga cycles. One example you can understand is, remember Manvantras we talk about, 71 yuga cycles. Each yuga cycle is 4 yugas, right? Satya, Dwapara, Treta, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali Yuga, right? So much time one Manu used to manage. That means he used to live for so long. And is a Jiva, is not a Vishnu Tattva most of the time. So that gives explanation that sometimes some Jivas can live such a long time like that. That's the only explanation I heard, Matai, so far. Makes sense?
Yeah, partially, Prabhu. Yeah, I
In-
will look into it.
Yeah,
It's a little
inconceivable, but
confusing
yes,
because the time zone concept is beyond my comprehension. That's what it means. Not that your explanation.
correct, correct.
Eh,
Of course, even Lord Brahma for that matter, right? Is
Yeah.
staying for 4,000 yugas, basically 1,000 yuga cycles.
That's right, Prabhu. Their living is okay, but the
Correct.
time zone management itself, where you are in one yuga
Oh,
and then you have to face another yuga, then the type of living itself changes from yuga to yuga, we understand. If somebody is living in Kali Yuga and who started with Satya Yuga, first of all, the time zone change means it is literally changing every phase of the multi-dimensional universe. So
yeah,
how do you
definitely.
comprehend such things is, I don't know, it's energy of Krishna, whatever. But then I used to think about it, so I just asked the question.
Okay, thank you, Matai. Yeah, definitely it is not easy for us to comprehend how Krishna is making everything happen like this. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yes,
Prabhu.
Also,
correct, Matai.
Prabhuji, Srila Prabhupada has written in the introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam that Puranas are written in such a way that they do not follow the chronology. They are not
Correct.
chronologically given like that. So
Yes.
there are so many kind of time zone difference like that which are mentioned in the stories like that. So that's another point also there. And I understand Daksha Maharaj, he took birth after 3-4 manvantaras,
Ah,
from first manvantara to sixth manvantara like that. That's what also I have heard like that. So, this kind
yes.
of
Correct.
mind-boggling. But our concept of time is circular. But Western, they are linear like that. So
Correct.
that's how our time rotates from, one yuga to like that. That's how is another thing.
Yes.
The whole Bhagavatam is just one day of Brahma. The whole
Mm.
Bhagavatam, it's
Yes.
just one kalp. So it's also,
Correct.
but this is
Thanks.
Divya, it's so alaukik like that.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Matai. Any other comments or questions?
Prabhu, last question before.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Can you little bit like story about Narayana Rishi?
Okay. Narayan Rishi, I'm not expert on the topic. But I did hear it one time. What is his name? Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj was sharing, I think, one time. I was listening to him, I think. Or Bhakti Char Maharaj, probably. So basically, brief things I'll tell you what I understand. Basically, in Badrika Ashram, Supreme Lord expands himself as Nara and Narayana, two forms. In one sense, is described as Krishna and Arjuna. That is one sense is described. But in another sense, is described that they're both Supreme Lord, like that also. I heard both of them, both the statements from Bhakti Maharaj one time. And then other thing I heard about is what they're doing, what is the purpose of doing is they're doing austerities for the benefit of everyone, it seems. They're setting the example of ideal austerity for everyone. That is what other thing aspect I remember. There's a whole intricate story. Bhakti Sharma elaborates how somebody comes to some demon they want to fight. So Nara takes meditation for some time, and during that time Narayana fights, and then he takes break and Nara fights for some time. Like that, I could not follow the whole thing now. I don't remember now, but Bhakti Maharaj explains that in one of the classes, if I remember correctly. So anybody else knows more about it? You can share, please. Feel free to share.
Prabhuji, I heard like this that they are so austere that when Indra got envious and he sent Apsaras to break their austerities, then Narayan produced Urvasi from their own thighs and sent like that. That's also some kind of
Greatness, right? Yes, that's the greatness also. Yes. Yeah. So they could not come before that. Basically, beauty was so much. Supreme Lord can produce such a beauty that nobody can come and compete. Nice point, Prabhuji.
And in
That
this,
much I remember, Prabhuji.
in the context of this fourth chapter, which you summarized today, I couldn't follow like who met Narayana Rishi. Is Vidura met or Uddhava met? Or...
No one met. Basically, the overall section was Uddhava, because Vidura is asking questions about how is Krishna, how is Balram, How is Yadu family? The moment he heard Krishna, he's thinking about Krishna. Like how when somebody tells about our wonderful loving son, he brings about your son's name, then we'll remember about son. Oh, he's such a nice guy. He does this, he does that, like that. So like that, he's pure devotee. He went into trance and remembered Krishna. So what he's doing is he's narrating past times of Krishna. Initially randomly, then he started sequentially. What Krishna did in Vrindavan first, what Krishna did in Madhura next, what Krishna did in Dwaraka next, like that. Uddhava is narrating that to Vidura, basically. Past tense of Krishna. In brief, the detailed past tense, each of them will be one chapter in 10th canto. That is coming.
So Krishna met Narayana Rishi?
Oh, so Krishna, no. Oh, you mean in the section today, what did Uddhava say about Narayana Rishi? That's the question?
Yeah, how is the context of Narayana Rishi came in the like 4th chapter we somewhere or read today?
Okay. I don't remember what he mentioned about Narayana Rishi. Basically, let me take a look.
Prabhuji, I understand Lord Krishna told Uddhava to go and see Narayan because he himself personally could not go. He went to the heavenly planets, but he didn't go to Narayan, and that's why he wanted to send. He says that Uddhava is nothing less than me, so let me send him there. That's what I understand in Bhagavatam.
Perfect, Prabhu. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Prabhuji. Perfect. Yeah. You follow that, Prabhu Satyam Prabhuji?
Yes, and why he wants to send Uddhava to Narayana Rishi? Like, what is the purpose?
Because like Prabhuji
Personal
explained.
association, Bhagavan Krishna thought that, I could not give to my personal association to Narayan. So let me send Uddhav, who is equal to me in all the way. That's what he specifically mentions there. Right? Yeah.
They are Krishna's expansion only, right?
Yeah, but other sages are also there. Not only Narayana Rishi, but other sages are also there in Badrikashram. He wants to give association to other Badrikashram sages.
Yeah, thank you for the nice class and all this nice discussions, bro.
Welcome, Roji. Okay.
I
Yes.
sent the Uddhava Gita, the link in the chat. Actually, that Satyam Prabhu asked. So Uddhava Gita, it's very juicy. Like before Krishna departure, and Uddhava asked him a lot of questions. Like Krishna asked him, "What do you want?" But instead of asking any boon, he just asked Krishna a lot of questions. Like why you didn't save Yudhishthira before the chess thing. Why you didn't save Draupadi right away. You let her wait and all this. So many questions he asked, and Krishna responds to him like very nicely. So you can read the link if you want. Yes. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mate. Hare Krishna. Okay, we can end here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to all the devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kupasandubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Great.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.